Welcome, join San Francisco GOCAA International Music Competition. Welcome today, Judge Dmitry Rachmanov. Let us listen youth division contestant video. Hi, Dmitry, Professor.
Hello.
Hi, how are you? And today we will listen the contestant the video first, and then you comment for each contestant. Okay.
Sounds fine.
Okay. And first contestant, I think is from the Switzerland, the Christian. I don't know the long name. Okay. Okay. Let us listen. Okay. Professor, you need milk yourself.
Very well.
Yeah, welcome, Professor, to Common.
So we can now comment on what we just heard. Christian Cvetkovich performing the first movement of the A major sonata by Mozart K331. It sounded like the performer had everything tightly under control, well measured, carefully phrased, and secured in terms of pulse, in terms of connection between the phrases, and pianistic polish too. Every note was very well articulated, and so on. The main theme, Andante Grazioso, felt a little bit square. It could have a little bit more elegance and more grazioso feeling, more rhythmic lilt, tim ba bum bum ba dim da dum bum, to give it a more innocent, more beautiful interpretation. The first variations followed rhythmically in terms of tempo, as they should. One open question in variation 2, with all the trills incorporated into the soprano line, tim bum drum, dum bum dum. Do we start the trill on the main note as the old Romantic school professed, or according to performance practice, maybe we should start the trills on the upper notes? That's the question. The performer chose to start all the trills from the main note, which I'm not sure is stylistically correct. In the Adagio variation number 5, I felt that, again, just like in general, it sounded a little too tight. The music sings, it's vocal in nature, especially when we have smaller notes, 30-second note passages, or some triplets towards the end of the variation. I feel like they sounded a little too tight. They could relax and speak a little bit more. So the small phrases can make can unify into longer lines. That is true not only of the Adagio, but of the other variations as well. And the final variation, Allegro, variation number 6, it's a lively piece, but at times, and our performer was very secure in what he played, but at times it felt a little bit too rushed. We need to let every note in every passage, 16 notes including, let them speak, let them be clear. Sometimes it felt a little too pushed. But overall, it was a very, very decent performance. Just needs to relax musically. So these are my comments.
Thank you, Professor. Okay, let us listen next one for Chen Wang.
Chen Wang has recorded complete Beethoven Sonata, Opus 111, Beethoven's last piano sonata. I will be glad to listen to it again, but it's a long piece, almost half an hour long.
Maybe we just listen 15 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. Each contestant just half hour, 15 hour, 15 minutes. Okay, Professor.
Yes, I know it's very
Very long piece.
difficult to cut the arietta in the midway.
Okay, the turn one in the meeting. Turn one, you in here, right? You can now the professor comment with you, so you can mute yourself. You can talking with the professor. Okay.
At least we had a chance to pre-hear Chen's performance of the whole sonata prior to this meeting. So we had the recording and we had a chance to hear the whole piece. So we have the whole impression rather than just half of the arietta. So, but for the meeting, we are short and limited in time.
Yes.
So, what I would like to tell Chen is that she plays.
Yeah, turn one in here. Turn one, do you want the translator or you can speak English? 你需要翻译吗？还是你可以英文？
I don't. Thank you.
你可以说，你还是你可以听。
可以听。
Okay, okay, she can listen English. Okay.
Very well. Well, congratulations to you for your very personal and very successful performance of Beethoven's Last Sonata. We often hear it in a very monumental and heroic version, and you had some of those characteristics, but your performance seems to be very natural and very lyrical. You play with a lot of inner freedom. You have a connection and you identify with the music. And it sounds very organic. It sounds very personal. And that is an important achievement because there's nothing like having a real connection with the music and sounding natural, sounding comfortable, sounding flexible, and you have all these features. Maybe structurally you can still improve on certain things. For example, in the maestoso introduction to the first movement, you can build up the first three phrases, accumulating energy and showing that they're not all three on the same level, but rather gaining in intensity. It's not the easiest first page of a sonata. From measure 11, when you have ta-dum, pam, bim, bum, syncopated accents in the left hand and melodic continuation, it felt a little bit subdivided, as if you were moving by the eighth note pulse rather than unifying your lines by having the quarter note as the main pulse. So those are just some specific comments. They don't necessarily reflect negatively on the entire performance. And the Allegro con brio ed appassionato, the main portion of the first movement felt also very comfortable. You were able to play with inflections of your thematic 16-note passages. They all sounded very spoken, very clear, and very expressive. You allowed some agogical flexibility. Sometimes you would relax the pulse, especially in more lyrical second subjects, more so than we often hear. So sometimes it felt very fresh, as if you allowed music to breathe, and rightly so. But at other times, it felt like you allowed the structure to get a little bit too loose, less tight than we commonly associate with this very intense, very driven, very dramatic music. So you had a good sense of personal approach and interpretation, but there are pluses and minuses, like in everything else. I felt like your arietta was very expressive, very well shaped, with very clear and spoken narrative based on steady rhythmic background, and it was very broadly paced, but it was comfortable. It had a long arching lines, which is very important. In spite of a broad, slow tempo, you were holding things together tightly, with the first variation following in the same rhythm, in the same tempo, things moving forward later on. The third variation, again, sounded like you were improvising, which is nice. It was exciting, it was driven, it was rhythmically flexible. Dots, dum ba-dum 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 ba-dum, not as tight as one often hears them. You know, some musicians even ventured in saying that it's like Beethoven's precursor of the jazz rhythm. But you didn't have any of that. You were much too flexible, too easy on the rhythm, on the dada rhythm in particular. So that was unusual but interesting. And then your fourth variation with the juxtaposition of murmuring bass and syncopated chords with the sections of crystalline, celestial soprano sections I thought was very successful. In any case, overall, very personal interpretation, and congratulations to you on that.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your comments. That's helpful.
You're most welcome. Most welcome. And good luck to you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Professor. And next is Hao Tian Wei. Professor, you need mute yourself.
Are we ready to discuss the performance? I know that Hao Chang recorded his second piece, Chopin Raindrop Prelude, but maybe we focus on the Beethoven. I feel that this is a gifted young performer who has something to say, but his performance is not quite as polished as it could be. In terms of dynamic precision, rhythmic precision, character, a lot of it is shows a lot of promise. but it just needs to be more polished. I feel that this movement and this sonata in particular, there is a lot of mystery lying beneath the surface, the hushed, quiet, yet very intense lines that are ready to explode. And when they explode, it creates a big dramatic effect. So I think that this young performer, he is more successful in stronger gesture than in quieter sections. So for example, the opening main theme, it's marked pianissimo. It has to be really very soft. And at the same time, rhythmically, it has to be very precise. So when you start, you have to have the eighth notes, the groups of three, these in your mind, in your pulse, inside of you. When you start, you have to be extremely sharp rhythmically and yet very quiet. So it feels mysterious and yet it feels intense. So I felt it was a little bit too loud, especially when it came to the trills in measure 3 and measure 7 and so on. Those trills are still in pianissimo. They have to be foreboding. They have to send the chills down our spine, so to speak. If they are played too bright, too open, it destroys the atmosphere. It has to be really quiet. So in that respect, I think there is more work to be done. When the music explodes, like in fortissimo, in measure 17, then it sounded very confident and very good, very strong. The same thing could be said in all sections which are quiet and marked pianissimo or piano. When it comes to sforzando, when its general dynamic level is piano, those sforzandos cannot be too loud. They have to be like little flashes of light. Everything has to be quiet, and sforzandos should not disturb that. The second subject in measure 35 and so sounded very convincing, very nice, warm singing tone, and also this closing section also sounded very confident and good technical polished playing. Only sometimes the top notes ta-ta-ta-team pa-pa-pa-pam did not come out clearly. Maybe it was just the recording, but I suggest that that the young player works on bringing out the top notes a little more. And so in the development, when it starts in measure 65, again, it has to be pianissimo. It has to be softer. Rhythmically, most of things were good. Sometimes they could be a little more precise. For example, when we enter the recapitulation in measure 134, 35, the left hand has triplets, ta 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 ta, and right hand has octaves, returning main theme, pam pa ba, pam pa bam, pam pa bim, pam pam. The 16th notes at the end, tadam, have to be sharp. They cannot be played together with a triplet. It should not be played ta 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 tam pam pa pam. It should be tam pa pam pam pa pam pam pam. I'm demonstrating slowly. And the most dramatic moment which needs to be prepared is the explosion in the coda, più allegro, measure 239. It has to be preceded by this murky diminuendo on long pedal and ritardando, pa 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 pam, ta 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 tim, pa 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 pam, slower and slower, more and more mysterious and suspenseful, like you don't know what to expect. You need to be softer and you need to take a little more time. And then when it explodes in fortissimo, pa 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 pam, it has to be really like a shocking surprise. So all of these things can be worked on to create more drama, more contrast, and especially work on softer sections. So this is my advice to the young pianist, who is very talented.
Thank you, Professor. Okay, next one is Chun Xuan Wei. Welcome, Professor, to Carmen.
Yes, excellent audition from Chan Xuan Wei, right? Am I pronouncing his name?
Yeah, he's from Taiwan, so different. I think correct.
Mhm. Yes, I thought that this was very convincing, especially I was touched and impressed by the Gubaidulina's Chaconne, very austere and very stark, dramatic piece based on Baroque form using 20th century language and expressed very, very powerfully by the young pianist. The first two pieces were also played very well. The first two of the Schumann Fantasy-Stücke, Des Abends and Aufschwung. In Des Abends, I was pleased by the natural quality of the music making, the sound which flowed warmly and gently and creating long arching lines, creating peaceful atmosphere, well balanced texture. The music, the marking at the beginning says sehr innig zu spielen, to play with a lot of intimacy, a lot of tenderness, something heartfelt. And perhaps in a live performance, there could be a little bit more of that quality, of that heart-rending, breathtaking beauty of that piece. So it could just have a little bit more of intimacy of the beautiful feeling of this picture that Schumann paints of the evening in a quiet place, perhaps a countryside, a beautiful landscape. But it was very well played, very well done, as well as the following Aufschwung, which was played with passion, with drama, and without any exaggeration or harshness of tone. Never. Very naturally, very comfortably. Moving from the main theme to the second part into the central section. Interestingly, the second section with the 16th notes, dam da dim ba dam ba dee da dam da dim da dee da dee da, when it returns in a variation, measure 24, and the answer to the main line in measure 26, 27, this was the first time when I heard someone playing. You see, the right hand has hemiolas, da 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 team, and left hand has 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2. This pianist chose to play them together, da 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 da, which whereas everybody plays it as written, da 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 pa pa. So the rhythmically it was played differently than it's marked in the score, and then everybody else who plays that. I wonder if it was a conscious decision or a misreading on the part of the performer. Maybe he can answer that. I also liked some voicing when the phrase returns or is played twice, like in measure 93 through 100. He first brought out the top bum, bum, and then the bottom voice, that was very creative, I thought. So all in all, I liked his performance of Schumann, but I thought he showed a particular strength in performing his more modern piece, the Chaconne, written in 1962 by this Russian composer Sofia Gubaidulina. It had orchestral sound quality, you know, because there is so much dramatic shifts, both rhythmic and sound and textures. And he switched from one section to the next, from one variation to the next, immediately and with great effect. He showed that he could play with a lot of different touches, different variety of sound, different rhythmic impact, and the piece is very, very intense, and he did a great justice to it. And I'm not just saying it for the sake of saying. I had the score in front of me, so I was following it. And I want to congratulate this young pianist on his achievements. Good job.
Thank you, Professor. Next one is Liang Xue.
And Liang Xue is playing the first movement of Beethoven Sonata Opus 10 number 3, correct?
He played Liszt.
Very good, very confident and powerful performance. I also heard Lian Xue play Beethoven movement that I received earlier from you, from the competition. But this was very well put together performance of this popular Liszt tarantella, the one of the three additions to the second book of Years of Pilgrimage that he put together, and it's part of Venezia and Napoli, Venice and Naples. And this piece clearly features the Neapolitan song, the middle section. So it uses material, folk material from the city of Naples. I thought the playing had a lot of energy and ongoing drive, such as the opening, followed by the main theme, the repeated noted tarantella, well articulated, I thought. When it comes to un poco meno presto, ma sempre con molto brio, it has two elements. One is very kind of very grounded, as if a sailor's song or something like that, with chords, which was very good. The answer marked piano could have been, in my opinion, more delicate, providing more fresh air, more contrast of delicate color. So sometimes throughout the performance, we wanted maybe more soft playing, more contrast, and maybe it has something to do with the quality of the recording. Maybe it did not allow that. I don't know. Or maybe it's the playing itself. So this is one example where you could have, the pianist could have taken advantage of fortissimo followed by piano. More contrast, softer, more delicate. Sometimes there are poco ritardandos, stringendos written into the score. So perhaps he wants a little more hesitation, pulling back, moving forward. And that also could have been done with a little more playfulness, more creativity. Like followed by stringendo. So first you're hesitant, then you push forward. So we want more such variety. And when it changed to the middle part of the piece, marked Canzona Napolitana, it's a Neapolitan song. And I thought you played it very well. The pianist played it very well. But again, it could maybe allow for a little more flexibility. It's a folk song. You have to follow a folk singer who would come out on the street and sing in this beautiful Italian style. So a little more spontaneity, a little more surprises in the way you shape the line. There was a lot of rubato in your passages, which was fine, but in some melodic entrances, it could have been a little more flexible, more attuned with the folk style of the music that Liszt presents here. Later, arpeggiated sections like sempre pianissimo ben marcato la melodia, I thought were very clear and very well played. Towards the end, the music becomes more and more excited, more and more energized, more and more gearing towards a climax. And when Liszt marks stretto, poco a poco più crescendo, I would definitely start a little softer, a little hesitantly, in order to build slowly, little by little, poco a poco, più crescendo. It sounded a little bit too much too soon to me. So when it came to fortissimo and prestissimo, and then sempre prestissimo towards the final climaxes, I thought that you could have paced it a little bit better. But again, maybe the recording quality didn't allow for soft playing and build up into the more powerful, more exciting and dramatic final chords. Just a little more range of sound, a little more excitement, better paced. But overall, I thought it was a very well presented, pianistically fluent, convincing and confident playing, confident performance. So congratulations.
Thank you, Professor. Liang Xie, if you're in Zoom, you can, if have any question, you can ask. Okay, we go to next, Victoria Wong. Welcome, Professor.
I I can only congratulate Victoria Wong on such successful, imaginative, sharply pointed, and driven, exciting performance of this ghostly piece, Scarbo by Ravel, the last movement of his triptych Gaspard de la Nuit. So these are nightly images that Ravel himself based on a poem by Aloysius Bertrand. And it's about this haunting image of this creature, this dwarf that appears at night as the haunting image. And it's so well written and so well performed by Victoria. I thought that her performance was to the point, rhythmically very precise, very polished, and very refined. The lightness of touch and the crisp articulation from the very beginning with the repeated notes, with surging passages, with tremolos from pianissimo rising to fortissimo and back, were very, very imaginative and very well done. Maybe some of the rests when Ravel writes a fermata and says it has to be very long, it could have been a little more suspenseful, like in measure 7, followed by the triplet in the bass with diminuendo swell. But we won't get into such minute details. They are absolutely insignificant. What I thought was very well captured is the sharpness and tightness of rhythmic pulse and surging passages culminating in big climactic points, such as in the middle and particularly at the end. Those big fortissimo and triple forte emphasize un peu moins vif, such as in measure 563 and the like. So the brightness of touch, the sharp rhythmic pulse, precision, drive, energy, the pointed, marked places with fortissimos and big swells and range of tone in particular were quite impressive. The pulse was very brisk. There was a sense of urgency, and it's in the music itself, and it's not so easy to recreate. And I thought that Victoria was right on the mark. And her articulation was crystal clear, I thought. Perhaps when it came to a powerful, haunting imagery, climaxes and accents and crescendos, perhaps it could have been even more when she could have used a little bit more of the arm weight in those a few moments of powerful, pointed, climactic moments. Just could use a little bit more arm weight to add to it. But overall, I was very impressed with her performance. Congratulations.
Thank you, Professor. And next is An Jun Zheng.
Very, very impressive playing by Anjun Zheng. Congratulations. Just a sheer control of the texture, the execution of this very, very complex and varied texture, such a big canvas full of variety of themes and variety of different pianistic textures and colors, all were very much under control, which was a very impressively executed. Also, very intelligent playing, phrasing, expression, and laying out the characters one after another was done with good sense of style, good sense of musical message that the composer is sending. The balance of different parts really helped creating a very convincing structure as a whole. It is a very personal, very emotionally endearing statement of Schumann, like much of his music. It's very personal. It's sometimes very quirky, not very comfortable, awkwardly written, and it requires a lot of skills. The introduction, which is un poco adagio, starts with that very emotionally loaded theme, with full of double dotted rhythms, very impassionate. I would say that, generally speaking, the most impressive qualities were intelligence, understanding of the musical message, economy of motion, and holding things together. Maybe on the larger scale, if there could be even more intense expression, maybe at times more deeply brought out singing lines, more emotional intensity in this crazy sense that Schumann sometimes possesses. You know, we know that he was psychologically not the most balanced person. He was a manic depressive, and those two qualities that he later represented in his two opposite emotional poles, creating this character of Florestan, fervent, emotional, driven, unpredictable, and on the other hand, Eusebius, who was very calm and relaxed and lyrical. Those two characters sometimes could be presented in a little bit more dramatic manner. Even in the un poco adagio, which sounded very coherent, you could have brought out the first sforzandos with a little more urgency, and also because it's un poco adagio, you could have allowed a little bit more time at those moments. But those are minor observations. It all was very, very convincing. very commendable with the polyphonic textures, such as the main theme. We could hear the statement and the answer in the left hand in the bass, and everything was very transparent and very clear. I am just looking and skipping around. Sometimes in the sections that Schumann marks animato, such as measure 295, 296, I feel that you could allow a little bit more freedom of motion. You could let things go and sound less structured, less steady, more flowing, more urgent at times. So that's my main observation, that when the music called for something fervent, something extremely passionate, you could have given a little more, although it would have taken more physical and emotional energy out of you. But having said that, I congratulate you with this such polished, such controlled and balanced playing. Very beautiful.
Thank you, Professor. And next one is Daring Zheng.
Well, I have to say that Dialing Zheng
Yeah, I think she in here.
is very nice. She plays Schubert, and we also heard her Schumann. I believe those are live performances, right?
Yeah.
She plays with a great deal of enthusiasm, excitement for the music, and she's not afraid of taking chances, even if it results in a dramatic statement and maybe a few notes that may be a little bit unclear in one passage or another, which really doesn't matter because she really brings the spirit, this Viennese spirit of this music. And it's an early sonata, but it's very eloquent and very beautiful piece that can sound academic and reserved if played with less identification with the style and with the character, which she has in great measure, I thought. So she's very engaged with the score, and she makes the listener also very engaged. I like the fact that there's a lot of freedom in taking time in bringing out character with a special attention to each thematic presentation. The first theme, which is elegant and graceful and has all those half cadences, which require a little more time, little breathing pauses, so to speak. And then the music takes off in the connecting material with the yum bum bum bim bum, which requires a little forward motion, and she feels and goes with the score, arriving at the second subject, which is very Viennese, very dance-like, with a typical like waltz or Landler character, and that also requires a lot of playfulness, flexibility, and being enchanted with the character of the music. And this is all very, very vivid, vividly brought out. And that can be said about every subject that is so varied and so filled with this score, and each one requires very special attention, special feel, and this is all recreated with excitement and beauty. So all I can say, congratulations. And I know how awkward some of these passages are, the way they are written, and you're not afraid of playing them in with energy, with flow, with flair that they require. So, congratulations to you.
Thank you, Professor.
Yes,
Thank you, Professor.
beautiful playing.
And next is Yang Wang.
Congratulations, Yang Wang, on this very beautiful, very organic performance of Liszt's Waldesrauschen, played as if on one breath. Very fluent, very natural performance that takes wings from the very beginning, from the very first opening line. Well-balanced performance, light and gentle textures, the accompanying phrases, allowing the melodic lines to speak and descend with fluency. Delicate and poetic playing, variety of colors when music changes the key from D flat to E major, for example. We can hear the change of color in your playing in a subtle but clear manner. Long arching phrases with octaves, well placed legato octaves, and generally speaking, very intuitive and very fluent, very polished playing indeed. Some interesting interpretive decisions, for example, when we have the cascades of the rising octaves, triple forte strepitoso octaves, which you choose to play with two hands. It arrives at the climactic return of the main subject, marked molto appassionato in the score with forte and poco più mosso. You choose to back off and play it softly, as if dropping the intensity and avoiding the climax, and as if trying to build from the lower point. That is unusual in that particular moment, but I think it works because it is the line that results in the scherzando, stringendo molto e sempre fortissimo, that part which is a sudden change of character, sudden skittish, playful, dry, jumping with jumping skips in the left hand. So it brings itself to a new climax. So it's very well played and very interestingly interpreted at that point. But overall, I have to say that it's a very, very convincing, very fluent, very natural performance. And I can only congratulate Yang Wang with that rendition of the Waldesrauschen.
Thank you, Professor. Now the last one, the Stanisław. Okay, for Rosa.
Okay. I have to say that this was a very powerful performance of the octave etude of Chopin, despite the fact that it was very driven, very energetic, and very dramatic presentation. The performer never lost the legato sense in the flowing octaves, which sounded very fluent, very free technically, very comfortable, and tempo-wise as driven as one can imagine them being played. So no technical limitations whatsoever, and a clear adherence to the composer's markings, such as legato, such as some accents that sometimes are marked on the offbeats, on the syncopated beats of the measure. All of that was done clearly, convincingly, and powerfully. The middle section had a beautiful octave legato line, balanced phrasing, and also with the repeated presentations of the same theme, of the same material, the performer found ways of changing certain aspects. For example, in one of the entrances, or one of the lines, thematic lines, instead of bringing out the top of the octave melody, he brought the lower voice played by the first finger, and that provided a change of color with the music, with a theme that we already heard before. So he was able to change, shift the voicing. And at times he brought inner voices with within the octaves, which also added more variety, more harmonic aspect to the thematic material that is heard in the middle section. And the transition that was gradually sotto voce, sempre legato, and crescendo, accelerando, all was done with convincing organic quality. So to me, it sounded like a very, very fine interpretation of the octave Chopin etude. So I want to congratulate our performer.
Thank you, Professor. You give a lot of good idea for each contestant. Thank you. I think will help a lot. And thank you for all contestants join the Zoom meeting and long time, 2 hours. And we will put the score and we'll put on the website, so you can check website GOCAA music.com. If you got the first prize, you need to go to next round, go to final list. So welcome. See you on the final. Thank you.
See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.